Episode of No News is News. I'm your host, Alex R. Wagner, and this is, Wednesday? The NBA Finals just started about 15 minutes ago. Let's check in on that right now first. Go Knicks. 7:30 was start time, but we are 7:45. No score yet. Okay. Pulling her up live. Let's pull up the Kelce odds as we do every day on this show for President of the United States. Number one right now and sitting pretty at 19%. I think, honestly, it's been like how he's been speaking and stuff. It's been pretty solid. But those are your four choices. Marco Rubio, JD Vance, Gavin Newsom, AOC. Let's put her on the board right now. Who will be president in 2028? And we got 887 days until election. You got Marco Rubio with 2 wins. You got JD Vance with, how many wins you got now? How many wins this guy got now? 26 wins. 26 wins. And we got Gavin Newsom with 6 wins. And our fourth choice, never got it so far, but here we are. And receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience what? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Open the widget. Stream health poor. Why? Why is the stream health poor? It shouldn't be. Anyway, cut the Kelce. Maybe that's what the problem is there. Pull her up on here. Here we go. Daddy Trump back in the office, signing some executive orders today. What do we got? What do we got going on?
But I'm not getting in front of this camera.
Hello, everybody. We have a big day today because this is, as you probably have been watching, so from 1922 to present, it really never worked. It leaked and it was bad, and it looked terrible. It's supposed to be beautiful. It was opened in 1922, and it always leaked. There was a problem. It's called the Great Reflecting Pool, between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. And right in between, it's almost 2,500 feet long. I could show you, it would be like the tallest building in the world laid on its side, and the building wouldn't reach it. And today it gets completed. The pool gets completed at 4 o'clock, and the water will start to flow in.
Wow.
And it won't leak, because it's done properly, and it's going to be beautiful.
What's with the animatronics?
Black, blue, it's the color we picked.
What's going on? That's not me. That's the C-SPAN feed, by the way.
Worked. A great concept that never worked because it always leaked. They used stone originally, and the stone leaks because it's got a lot of crevices, and we have a very special material that we used, and we'll do this for a tiny fraction. You remember President Obama tried to do it and it failed miserably. They spent over $100 million between him and Biden. They spent much more than $100 million, and it never worked, and it was filthy dirty. We took out 12 truckloads of garbage out of this pool. It was just
wow,
terrible,
that's crazy.
thing for the country. So we have.
If it works, then I compliment them. If it works.
All over Washington, and we're just about completed with all of them. The fountains are all working at 28 fountains. And as of this moment, just about this moment, a couple are going to be a few days longer. And we went on a real kick. Some of the most beautiful fountains in the world, but they haven't worked in 30, 40 years, most of them. As you know, you saw the one in front of the station. Union Station was horrible, and now it's beautiful. It was all covered in graffiti. But this would be the big one, because this is, again, could you get me?
Just hit 50 in the live chat. Make sure you double tap, hit that, oh my God, guys. Sorry. I'm losing my mind today. Double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day, as it is every day on this show. Who will be president in 2028? JD Vance coming away with at 67% of the vote. Back to Daddy Trump.
That picture of the how it compares in size to the biggest buildings anywhere in the world. It's sort of amazing.
No public record exists regarding dual citizen status for members of Congress. Federal law does not require such disclosure, and the information is not tracked by any government body. Cool story, bro.
We're proud of a lot of things we've done.
We're talking about a fountain right now.
So Washington now is, a very safe city. It's considered
All four of them are
very
crooks.
safe city. It was a very unsafe city 14 months ago. Now it's a very safe city, so we're very proud of that. But it's also become a beautiful city. The encampments, the homeless are no longer sitting in the middle of the park. The level of beauty of the city is incredible. We regrassed many of the areas. We're really doing a job at Lafayette Park, which is really the entrance to the White House. And that's going to be completed very shortly, and it'll be incredible, as it was originally envisioned. Most of it we're doing as originally envisioned. And if you walk across the street to Lafayette Park, you'll see something that's incredible. It's going to be, we'll have it open before July 4th. This, we wanted to get it open before July 4th. On the reflecting pond, or the reflecting pool, as some people call
Trump
it.
is destroying any chance of another
very
Republican
important
president.
to us was,
My point is that this
the
both
longevity,
parties are
the,
corrupt.
having it so that
Facts.
it's not closed every day.
And all we
Well,
need
these
was a
are,
great president.
just had
Welcome
this-
back, Michael Olson.
You're getting a first glimpse, but that's your size compared. So those are compared to. Those are among the tallest buildings in the world, including
Did you not see what they tried to sneak
The
into
Empire
the
State Building.
legislation?
World Trade Center, Sears Tower, Chicago. So if you lay it on its side, you take 200.
That is
feet
crazy
down,
that it is that long.
The width is
I didn't realize
almost
that.
200 feet wide.
I've walked it. I've
And,
walked it before.
Actually, much more than 2,000, close to including everything,
Giving
it's
GI
about
benefits to people whom
2,500
don't
feet
live here and serve in the
length.
military.
to the end,
Word.
and it's going to be beautiful. It was a great concept that never worked because they couldn't hold the water. Now they hold the water for a tiny fraction of the cost. We did it.
They keep saying this about it, but
Department of Interior was amazing.
I'll get to it in a second.
Really, absolutely amazing. And you're gonna have something you're gonna be very proud of, and it'll last for 50 to 100 years before you have to do anything with it. Very strong, powerful substance.
They keep saying this about the reflecting pool and everything, but I don't know why no one's rebutting it. Maybe it's been destroyed for like 20 or 30 years, but like when I was in 8th grade, which was during George W. Bush, post 9/11, I walked that fucking thing. I remember walking it during COVID. It wasn't empty. It wasn't empty during COVID. There was water in it. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I thought it was cool. I don't understand. But if it's about making it a lighter blue, like that looks cool too. But again, you said American flag blue, which is the fucking blue of your suit, sir. Anyway, poll of the day, as it is every day. 6 minutes into our poll, 23 votes in. J.D. Vance and Gavin Newsom tied for first place. Let's hit refresh on this motherfucker. I don't know why it's saying poor. That's some bullshit. That's some bullshit, because it just means it's not feeding it to everybody like it should. Anyway, let's go into the House rep now. Let's go into Mr. Mike Johnson for a second. Ironically, Trump doesn't want to piss on his own supporters if they were fired begging for help. They removed logic, critical
House Speaker
thinking,
Mike
and
Johnson
classic learning.
and other Republican leaders held a news
Y'all
conference
off base today
to
in the chat.
outline this week's House
keep it
floor
on subject
agenda,
here, Mo, you know?
including legislation to address waste, fraud, and abuse in government programs as part of the GOP's Anti-Fraud Week. He also took questions from reporters on several topics, including Bill Pulte being named by President Trump as acting director of national intelligence, the status of New Jersey GOP Congressman Tom Keene, Jr., who has not voted since March, and the ongoing conflict in Iran.
I supported Trump for both terms, but now I can't. He has become the ultimate clickbait and doesn't finish anything he starts. Double-minded man is unstable in his own ways. I'm starting to lean towards that. Not totally fully there on that one, but I feel you, Stuart. 1917 Federal Reserve Act. We have been going downhill since then. Yeah, sure, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't that old.
All right. I just love doing this. It makes me feel so powerful.
Okay. You do know the mic was on, right?
Well, good morning, everybody. Hope you all had a good weekend. And let me start this morning by reminding you of Democrats' crazy spending spree for nearly 4 years. And I'm just going to give you a couple facts. These aren't opinions. These are actual facts. $22 billion from Biden's HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegals, right? We don't have any homeless vets that need housing or cars. We'll get that $22 billion to the illegals. Okay, $45 million for DEI scholarships in Burma. Probably would like to have some American students that would like those scholarships, but we'll give those to DEI scholarships for people in Burma. How about $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of migrants? Now this one's really important. The Biden administration thought it was really important to spend $20 million for Sesame Street.
And yells, "Fuck Trump, fuck you," and he got pissed at me for saying Democrat. Michael, what state are you in? That's crazy.
In the Middle East.
It's a fun hat, though.
$8 million. Get this. $8 million to make mice transgender. Why? Well, that's a good use of taxpayer dollars, right? Ask yourself, what exactly
transgender
are we
mice?
Here?
Yeah, all right.
The Democrats are now making sure that we spend dollars on transgender mice to make mice transgender. I can think of some other reasons to use $8 million. Maybe the homeless.
Wow, it's crazy. In South Dakota, you got
maybe
that?
Some veterans. No,
it's wild.
They'll prioritize $8 million to make mice transgender. Okay. Under Biden, federal agencies handed out taxpayer dollars with weak oversight, loose control, and almost no accountability. Since his inauguration, however, President Trump and House Republicans have been taking practical, common sense steps to combat government's waste, fraud, and abuse. And this week, we're continuing to pass legislation to make sure your tax dollars are well spent and those who abuse your tax dollars are actually held accountable. Because Republicans know how hard you work for those tax dollars. It should be simple. It's common sense. But I'm afraid my colleagues on the other side of the aisle
lobbied against one of the guys who wasn't corrupt.
Have forgotten the meaning of that and that concept. Common sense says that if someone steals taxpayer dollars, they should be prosecuted. I think that makes sense. I think the average American who worked really hard for those taxpayer dollars and sees somebody abuse them would like to see consequence to that action.
Democrat men are women.
Right? Says people trying to stop
mostly
fraud,
a red state, but we got
abuse
nuts too, just not as many.
Okay.
Yeah, guy was losing it. Guy needs to leave South Dakota.
Should be protected. Crazy says the American people's hard-earned tax dollars should be given to criminals who are stealing their money. That's crazy. I mean, just look at what's unfolding in Minnesota. Sorry, Tom. Mr. Webb, sorry about that. This is an actual real-life case. Amy Bach was the executive.
Okay. Let's check in on our poll of the day, as it is every day. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button to send people into the algorithm just like you, and hit subscribe to get news 7 days a week. 12 minutes into our poll. We got 48 minutes left in our poll, 56 votes in. Gavin Newsom coming away with it. And in second place, Marco Rubio. If that stays, this will be the first time ever that J.D. Vance does not go to the runoff on the night, guys. That is wild. Back to Daddy Trump.
And we picked a color called American Flag Blue. We had color choices. Then before it was just gray, it was a color of concrete and stone. So it's going to be really special.
Marco Rubio lived 11 years rent-free with an international cocaine dealer.
Ends on the pool. We also did a lot more than we anticipated. We did all of the sidewalks outside of the pool where people walk or they stand. That's where Martin Luther King made his great speech.
I don't know what that's
A
about.
million people.
That lag isn't me either, guys.
People.
Just, you know.
Actually, I had a little bit tighter. It was a little bit tighter.
Democrats trying to rip us off First and Second Amendment every chance they get. COVID was made at a minute.
Location, the exact same pool, except now the pool's clean. It was filthy dirty then. But it was amazing because that was my first glimpse into politics. I made a speech and I had it. More people, in other words, you put the picture side by side, which we have, and they said I had 25,000. He had.
What is going on with the fucking skipping?
Tighter. My people were tighter.
Oh, it's a
But these are
stream.
minor details. That's what I said. Well, wait a minute. There's something wrong.
It's a stream, yeah. Now they lost the audio. Wow. What is going on? See if we can get this back, guys. 1 second. Okay, they don't have audio right now.
And it was there for.
All right, there we go.
It was there for years under the Biden administration. Again, Biden and Obama, if you combine the money they spent, it was over
It's filthy, dirty pool.
$142 million.
Until Trump
And
came
they
along.
got
They said
nothing,
12
as
tons
usual.
of garbage they
So
took
I'm
out of
very
it.
proud
So
of
that is
it.
crazy.
Maybe I shouldn't say that before it opens.
Yeah.
They'll open it, it'll look like a sieve, but it's
Yeah,
not.
exactly. Yeah,
I'm
bro.
very good at building things and constructing things. So I hope you're going to go take a look at it. The sidewalks are being sandblasted. The granite's on the outside. They're granite.
Fuck
And
when you got
that rests on strong
proof they
stone.
won't believe their eyes
And
or
it's being
ears.
sandblasted. It's going to look like really something beautiful. It's going to be brand new. It's got a lot of life. So just enjoy it. Rodney Scott is here along with Peter Navarro. Peter's been with
Damn,
me
bro.
for a long
They
time.
fucking up his
Before
feed
that
today
time,
for
he was
sure.
big under anything except for, I would say,
Jesus
presidency.
Christ.
There's a lot more.
What is going on with his feed
Peter's
today?
probably in second place, and certainly having to do with trade. And but they're here to talk about something else. And Rodney, if you would, please.
Sure. So we're talking about rolling out a customs EO. Why is that important? Basically, it's America first in the trade environment, like we've been doing on the border. People are used to the illegal immigration, the narcotics. We've locked that down. This is literally taking the same principles and applying them to trade to protect American industry. Different countries and different people are undercutting our import-export rules, the tariffs, to literally undermine American businesses. And we're going to put a stop to it in the same way. We are going to increase.
You're right, he was murdered by
the amount of
Mossad.
data
God
we
bless
have,
Trump.
so that we can actually make conscious decisions about who and what comes into this country. And we're going to start holding people accountable. So we're literally
Trump
going to
is
use
the
the
man.
rules that are in place to a certain extent and then make some recommendations for legislation going forward. But we're going to start holding trade accountable for bringing
Remember how you're supposed to
threatening
make
things
peace?
and threatening products into our country, just like we have on the rest of the border.
Trump and Bibi got
So
serious
Customs and Border
cancer
Protection
and
gets a lot of
dementia.
attention for
They
the
might be
border wall
getting
and everything else.
reanimated every 3
This is
months.
going to be basically the equivalent in the trade environment.
Reanimated?
Sir,
That's wild.
You did a miracle when you came in. You shut that border down in a matter of days to what had been a flood of millions of illegal aliens. And a secure America is a safe America. What we're going to do
Why isn't
here,
Trump an option for
EO you're gonna
2028?
sign, that's about a $20 to $30 billion.
Because he's not supposed to be allowed to do that.
Because we are going to crack down.
We'll see if they
on
change the
this
rules,
protected
but right now
border
he can't.
that CBP is putting in innovatively. We're going to crack down on the fentanyl. We're going to crack down on the unhealthy products, the counterfeits, and all the tariff evaders. So this is a message to the world today. When you sign this, there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And this
Sounds
is what
wild, but truth is
Donald
strange
Trump
right
does.
now.
He secures
Sure.
our borders. And
Deborah
not
Dementia
just
Dom.
physically, but in terms of trade. The new customs border is going to be awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know,
Peter. You we
but
had,
what rules has he
millions
followed?
of people pouring through our border. And when I got here,
Don't need
and it
Congress,
happened
just a new
twice,
president?
But the first time was a lot easier because it wasn't nearly as bad as this. But in 2016, we had a bad border, really a bad border, and
All right, guys, let's double tap. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day, as it is every day. 887 days until the election. 42 minutes left in our poll. 82 votes in. Gavin Newsom coming away with it. Marco Rubio currently sitting in second place. Let's get into the House Democrats. Let's take a look at what the House Dems got to say. If you have TDS, you truly have mental issues. Orange Goblin pedophile.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Winter.
First, I want to congratulate all the Democratic candidates who won last night. We're now one step closer to taking back the majority. And Democrats are going to win big in November because we're laser focused on issues that the American public cares about. From bringing down the high cost of living to improving access to quality, affordable health care and protecting our fundamental freedoms, Americans know who has their interests at heart, and they know this Republican majority does not. For over a year, Donald Trump and House Republicans have consistently disregarded the needs of hardworking families. In the Trump economy, families are struggling to afford groceries, gas, and health care. But rather than using their powers to help people, what they've decided to do is just this week offer $70 billion, a blank check for ICE, while gutting health care and food assistance programs and refusing to end costly conflict with Iran. And instead of lowering costs for Americans, Trump single-handedly
All right, guys,
is
let's get down to the real question. If you had to name a settlement of cannibalistic cave dwellers, what would you name it? Schumer Palooza?
His own party through his retribution campaign. He's nominating unqualified
McConnell,
men to be his intelligence community chief, and he's making America's 250th birthday entirely about himself. The American people are paying attention, and they know what is happening, and they know this is not.
This representative is a communist?
They voted to
yeah, you can tell by the haircut, to be honest.
Costs. And what they
haircut
got
does it all.
was higher costs.
Definite
and
commie.
chaos. People are working harder just to stay afloat while they watch Trump and his inner circle continue to enrich himself through backroom deals and stock trading and no big government contracts. Americans are ready to put an end to Trump and Republican corruption, and Democrats are stepping in.
DJTK.
Democrats believe Americans' hardworking tax dollars should go to making people's lives better, not just to enrich Trump and his family. We'll keep fighting to ensure that that happens. Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
I'm setting up a RimWorld colony, LOL.
I want to thank the White House for
Who is
repeatedly putting the National Economic Council
The
Director
Democrat,
Kevin
or are you
Hassett
talking
on
about
TV.
me? I'm a fat guy.
Kevin Hassett is really helping Democrats
Real
with
Donald
our
Trump
messaging. This is what
is
Director
resigned
Hassett
today,
recently
okay.
said on national TV. Quote, people are spending more on gas, but they're also spending more on everything else. Not just groceries, but restaurants and so on. Kevin Hassett, you're exactly right. People are spending more because guess what? Inflation is up. Inflation is higher now than it was when Trump took office last year. Grocery prices are up. Gas prices are up. Consumer products are up. And what is Trump focused on? Putting his face on a $250 bill.
Democrats don't have Americans full of shit. Your socialist beliefs. Democrats only make themselves rich, not
putting
the people.
His face on U.S. passports and putting his name on airports. We ask Republicans and the Trump administration to do what the American people want, which is to lower costs. Now, I want to talk about
here we go with the Democrats spilling out the whole new tale. The Democrats
There's this case in Alabama
messed up with the country. Trump and Republicans are fixing it back
map
up out of our way.
That a panel of 3 federal appellate judges who are conservative put an injunction on. 2 of these federal appellate judges were appointed by Trump himself. One was in.
How can we take a guy with a lisp seriously? It's pretty fucking insane. Like, fix your fucking speech before you become a congressman.
Initially appointed by Ronald Reagan. And they said that this
Ronald Reagan
was based on intentional racial discrimination.
Racial discrimination.
The Supreme Court recently lifted an injunction on that map and is allowing this racist map to go into force in Alabama for this year's election. That is unconscionable and shows that the current Supreme Court is out of control, out of touch with the American people. and acting in a purely partisan manner. This is the most corrupt Supreme Court we've seen in our history, and reform is going to come next year.
Okay.
Questions? Michael.
Mr. Chair, I just came over from the Senate where they're taking a procedural vote to move forward on the reconciliation bill over there. They dropped the...
This guy is an ass.
And Todd Blanche yesterday said that they won't move forward with the so-called weaponization fund. Those two issues have been very central to some of your criticisms about the bill outside of the underlying $70 billion for ICE and CBP. I'm wondering if the bill comes over to the House, which there's a long way to go, but if the bill comes over to the House.
Okay, guys, so remember to double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day, as it is every day on this channel. 887 days until the election. We have 36 minutes left in our poll, 117 votes in, and Gavin Newsom still leading it, but now Mr. J.D. Vance in a quick and pretty second place. Back to Mr. Daddy Trump.
Pretty quickly, we made it very good.
Who did you vote for in your state? I'm so tired of politics.
Without that, you could have never done it.
They should probably not be on this show right now.
Remember the Democrats, I call them. But the Democrats said the wall doesn't do anything. They said, no, walls work. Two things, everything else is obsolete. It gets obsolete quickly. Two things, wheels and walls. They've been here for a long time. A wheel and a wall, you'll always have. Other things, your computer's going to be obsolete about 2 days after it's...
Unfortunately, I think they will select Vance.
Wheels and walls, they work. And we built an incredible wall that stretches more than 1,000, think of it, 1,000 miles. And without that, we would not be as successful. We're building now additional areas because we need some additional wall in certain areas. But we had millions of people, 25 million people. I think it's more than that, but 25 million people came in during the Biden years, the Biden disasters. And we stopped that. We stopped it down to 0. Hard to believe, but the numbers come out every month. They come out 0, 0, 0. People don't come anymore because they know they're not going to get through. So we had caravans of 10, 15, 20, 25,000 people coming up from countries. And remember, I know these people. I know the leaders of the countries. They're smart, and they're cunning, and they're streetwise. And they would put their people that were from prisons in there. They would put their murderers in there. And they'd put a lot of bad people, and they'd also put people that just didn't work. They'd put all of their welfare recipients in there, and they'd send them into our country, and all of that stopped, and many of those people are now brought back. Many of the murderers, 11,888 were murderers. They say
that's crazy
time,
how it keeps glitching out. That's the feed, not me.
Murdered
that's
more
like
than
the C-SPAN feed.
One person, 2, 3, 4, 7 people murdered into our country. They let them into our country. It's a sin that should never be forgotten. So it's a much different country right now. We're respected by everybody. Everybody in the world respects. We just got back from China, as you know. Some of you were with us. And President Xi was great. And
lost it again. Lost the audio again. Crazy. This feed is wild. There it comes back.
And now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the most successful country in the world. So this is very important what you're doing, and I'd like to have Will just say a few words about it specifically, please.
Yes, sir. As Rodney and Councilor Navarro said, this is an executive order on strengthening customs enforcement using new technologies and new approaches. The idea here is to ensure that importers of record, other people moving goods across our border, are accurately reporting what they're bringing in, that contraband, that illegal goods aren't being brought across the border, and that goods being brought in are being accurately accounted for purposes of duties and tariffs and all of the other things we require of importers of record. But this executive order will launch a series of bold new steps that I think we as an administration believe will result in the tightest, most controlled border in American history, following on, obviously, your success in closing the southern border and stopping the scourge of illegal immigration into the country as well, sir.
So, Peter, what kind of money do you think this involves in terms of savings to our country?
I will guarantee you the first year will be at least 15
Crazy.
Next year, 25. And out there's 80 to $100 billion that the tariff evaders are doing. Plus, sir, we're going to stop more of the fentanyl coming in, and we're going to crack down on counterfeits. This is good
Religion
for
has
America. This is
a lot
good
of
for the
power in the
people
USA
that elected
politics
you.
because
It's
supporters
good
are
for your country.
Christian.
And we have
Jesus wouldn't
fentanyl
call
coming
any
in
priest father.
59% less.
Just so you know,
Cut it
you
by
shouldn't
a number
either.
that nobody thought was even possible.
bro.
We're going to get it a lot lower than that, but we have it. And we did this in a very short period of time.
This is
We
gonna
love
be
you,
very
President
much.
Trump.
We didn't have the
This is a
same
moneymaker for us, and CBP has been
Just
doing
another
a really great
arrogance
job
MAGA
innovating
channel?
on this.
Okay, bro.
You've done a fantastic job. Thank you.
Appreciate it, sir.
Okay, we'll start in one. Oh, that's a good one. That's a nice one. Okay, what else you have?
This is another executive order on reforms to the federal workforce, sir. Currently, with respect to many policymaking positions in the departments and agencies across government, we lack the ability, because of existing personnel rules, to effectively discipline or promote people who are in policymaking roles.
Okay. All right. So now here we are right now again, guys. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe. Send people in the algorithm for our poll today, as it is every day on this channel. 887 days until the election, with 31 minutes left in our opening poll of the day. Gavin Newsom coming away with it. JD Vance sitting pretty in a sweet second place with 30% of the vote. Back to the House Republicans. No. Let's go to Mr. Marco Rubios. Mr. Marco Rubius. Marco Rubius. Is this real? Should I say they haven't said Donald for 6 days? Okay. Okay, bro.
Committee discussing President.
I know that in my travels and in my interactions with leaders around the world, they did express concern and frustration that in the past, our foreign aid came either with massive strings attached in the sense of you had, focus on this or that, or it came with...
Oh my God, here they come.
I'm 18 and the American youth disagree with what you're doing. You're going against...
I'm 18 and I need to be smacked in the face! I'm 18 and I need to be smacked in the face! Fucking officer, smack her in the face, please.
All right.
Shut your yapping.
And also, because I
like Marco's response. All right.
I know that every country doesn't have the capability to do that, but a lot of countries expressed concern that oftentimes we were doing aid in their countries through NGOs without coordinating with a government at all. They had their own priorities. They had their own systems they wanted improved, and we were just doing what we thought they needed, not what they were asking for. So I think that's helped in that regard. So we can go through some of these details today. I'll stop here to save you the time, I know. Do you guys have a vote-a-rama tonight, is the rumor? Oh, tomorrow. Oh, well, then I can go all night. I'm kidding. See, that's the one part of being in the Senate I don't miss. Vote-a-ramas.
And they're all just like these old, decrepit people, just fucking. Yeah, for one day a year, I do need to stay up until 11 o'clock and just like fucking A.
You're welcome to attend if you like. Yeah. For old time's sake,
I guess to be one of the worst cults ever.
we would have fun in the cloakroom.
I think the Congress is a worse cult than
Thank
MAGA.
you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's not be a part of
Secretary
Congress,
Rubio,
guys.
It's wonderful to see you, and I want to thank you for your service in this new post. Mr. Secretary, before the military hostilities with Iran began, did the Department of State and other parts of the government, Department of Defense, obviously, make an assessment on the likelihood that Iran would close or interfere with commercial traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, especially since 20% of the world's oil goes through that narrow passageway?
Yes, not only was that a known risk factor, but there were others like the
love
launches
to
against
improve our lives.
neighboring countries that they wanted to punish. All of those factors were understood and weighed when the president made his decision about whether or not to do it. He felt it was imperative that Iran not be able to establish, and I agreed, that Iran would not be able to establish a conventional shield that they were building with massive number of drones and missiles, and they were on their way to getting double what they had. And if they reached a point where they had so many missiles and so many shield and so many drones, plus their naval capabilities that existed at the time, Iran would then say to the world, there's nothing you can do about our nuclear program, because if you do, we will overwhelm your defenses with the sheer volume of launches that we have, and then they could do whatever they wanted on the nuclear program. That was an unacceptable risk. It was a risk that we were running out of time to address. That was weighed against the risks that you've just outlined, not just the Straits, but also the attacks against Kuwait and Bahrain and UAE and Saudi Arabia and Qatar. It was weighed against that, and the president made a decision that them not having a nuclear weapon above all else had to be the priority.
Is our country working
Is our
with
country
our
working?
allies in the region, or with American
Sit
oil
down,
producers,
lady.
Canadian oil
Time for somebody else to show up.
to look to the future of what could be done to mitigate the consequences of such a dependence on this particular strait in the future. It wasn't the first time that Iran has done this. During the Iran-Iraq war, we saw Iran try to take control of the strait. So it's disturbing.
Nationalism
that
drives business bias,
nothing was
harms
done
the working
in
class.
intervening years to
You
try
gotta
to
admit,
figure
though,
out,
Democrats are
there
entertaining as hell with
alternative
their
routes that
stupidity and
could
no
be
morals.
used, more
Facts.
pipelines,
God bless Donald J.
other
Trump.
ways so that Iran does
Democrats make me more Republican every day.
not
That's all I'll
have
say.
such
That's all I'll say
an
to that.
ability to control the strait.
Well, there is an existing Western pipeline. It certainly doesn't have enough sufficient capacity out of Saudi Arabia to make up for what's happening through the Straits potentially. But a couple points. Yes, the answer is I think the indications are that in the aftermath of what's happened with the Straits, supply lines, where the world is going to be getting its energy is going to diversify away from at least the Straits traffic through a variety of means. The first is you are going to see, I believe, the construction of more infrastructure that goes to the west and even to the north to avoid the Straits. It's a bit less efficient because the Straits are a quicker shot, but I do think you're starting to see the alignment. But those are long-term projects.
She's trans?
I can't exactly tell you how long it takes to build these pipelines. It's not my area of expertise, but I certainly know it takes more than a month or even a year. The second, I think you're going to...
Okay. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day, as it is every day on this show. 887 days until the election. 25 minutes left in the poll. Gavin Newsom still coming away with it, and J.D. Vance sitting pretty in a second place. Back to Daddy Trump.
This executive order follows on a number of previous executive orders. The end goal is making the federal workforce more accountable and ensuring that people, particularly in policy-making roles,
why does he need to spell every word correctly to call Democrats stupid?
The wishes of the administration.
Democrats are
And
still
the reason
stupid.
for this was what? Whose idea was that?
James Shirk, who's here from Domestic Policy Council, can
Would
speak
you
to
like to
that.
say something? Come on, you did a great job at this. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. It's been a long-standing problem that it's almost impossible to fire a federal employee, even in cases of serious misconduct. And as a result, if you have employees who are trying to undermine the wishes of the American people by pushing their own agenda or just incompetent at what they're doing, agencies have a long-standing difficult time getting rid of them. And that's a particular problem if you're in a senior policy influencing role where you're controlling the policies of the entire agency. What this does is basically treats those employees like private sector workers. They're going to be hired on the basis of merit and competence, but if they're messing up, then they can be removed quickly rather than taking a year longer to get rid of them.
That's great. And you were very much involved in it?
I was, sir.
Is this guy central cast?
Baby, sir.
He's like perfectly cast. If I'm casting a lawyer, you couldn't have done that any better. Were you nervous?
A little. Thank you, sir.
Would anybody else like to say anything? About either one? What about you? Come on over here. Come on. Can you top it? You don't have to. Thank you very much. Great job. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this customs reform EO is a long time coming for us. It helps us solve problems that have plagued the customs system for many years. We've had a system where people have basically been able to hide behind shell companies. They move from one to the next.
Oh, wow.
And then we can't go after them. This EO really enables us to crack down, hold people accountable.
It's so important. I know you took it so seriously. See how serious they are? I mean, There's a love of the country. This isn't like normal stuff. These are the smartest people in the world. They can do anything they want. They can have any job, and they love this country. They just want to be here, and they hate what you saw, and you fixed it. Thank you very much, all of you. Anybody else? Anybody? Only if you want. I'm not going to call anybody. Anybody? You don't have to. They covered you well, right? I don't know if you could do any better. Thank you very much. That's a great job, fellas. It's a big one. Okay, thank you. Pulitzer Prize winner over there. I got the great Pulitzer Prize winner. Okay, thank you very much. That's great.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And do you have any questions on this?
It's the second quarter right now in the first game of the NBA Finals. Second quarter of the first game of the NBA Finals. The Spurs are leading the Knicks 31-28. 31-28 with 8 minutes into the second quarter.
Mr. President, given Iran's attacks on Kuwait, this latest attack on Kuwait, is the ceasefire with Iran still on?
Well, you know, there's a reason for
California has to be the highest deficit in the United States.
Pretty hard the night before, and actually last night. And when it was explained to me, I said, all right, so we'll do that. But we've been hitting them pretty hard, a little bit. So there is a reason for certain things, and there's usually a reason that...
That's the mic cutting out again, guys. We just have a bad, like the C-SPAN feed is bad. California voters asked for this and got it. Save California. Praise God, Donald Trump.
They were slightly provoked because we took a strong action for a different reason. So they were reciprocating it.
Mr. President, can you explain why...
The negotiation itself has gone very well, actually. Very well.
Mr. President...
It could happen. I mean, if it happens, and it might not happen, you know, who knows?
California has 28% homeless population in the country. Yes, praise God for the great gifting and
pretty much
grifting Donald
it's a different part of the world. You know, I'd say in that part of the world, ceasefires when you're shooting in a more moderate manner.
Yesterday you signed, Mr.
It's not bad. It's true. I mean, a ceasefire there is much different than a ceasefire in other parts of the world.
Mr. President, can you explain why you decided to drop the anti-weaponization fund?
So I love it. I think it's so important. People were, this is a victim right here, but not only a victim, he was also a student of it. What happened to great people, great American people, and the way they were victimized, the way they were savaged. You have suicides, they killed themselves, they went bankrupt, they were weaponized by the Biden administration.
Okay. All right, guys, make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe as we do every day on this show. And it sends more people into the algorithm for our poll today. 19 minutes left in our poll, 192 votes in. Gavin Newsom still taking the lead. J.D. Vance sitting pretty in second place. Let's go back to the Republican House reps.
And co-founder and executive director of Feeding Our Future, a Minnesota non-profit. She and her network stole $250 million.
They stole it? They did? They stole it? Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that you are able to say that sentence correctly.
Intended to feed hungry
problem, people.
children.
Problem, people.
Let me say that again. Money meant for hungry children.
They stole
was
it.
Stolen by a fraudster who treated your taxpayer dollars like it was their own personal ATM machine. That is disgusting. And that's not a paperwork error. That's theft, and there's no way around it, period. And while Republicans are fighting to crack down on the waste, fraud, and the abuse, every single Democrat has consistently voted against legislation to protect your dollars. In fact, every single Democrat has voted to keep dumping money into these programs without oversight or review. They want to continue the abuse of waste, fraud and abuse. Ask yourself why. Think about it. Republicans are fighting to stop fraud. That's common sense. Democrats protect fraudsters. That's crazy. Americans work too hard to watch their money go to Washington, and bureaucrats and Democrats abuse their money, their hard-earned money. And it's really easy because it's not their money, it's your money. And let me remind you of one thing that I say every single week. Even though we have waste, fraud, and abuse, and it's rampant like the story of Amy Bach, what do the Democrats want to do? Every single Democrat voted to raise your taxes for more waste, fraud, and abuse. Gee, I wonder why. This shouldn't be complicated, folks. It's a choice between crazy and common sense.
No, it's a choice between crazy and crazy.
House Republicans choose common
Crazy.
sense. And we're going to keep
We choose
fighting
our
to
version of
protect
crazy.
Your hard-earned dollars, period. And with that, I'm proud to turn it over to my colleague from Illinois, the wonderful Mary Miller.
Thank you, Chairwoman McClain. And I want to thank Chairman Wahlberg and my colleagues on the Education and Workforce Committee for moving this package forward and my bill to stop the Child Care Scams, the Stop Child Care Scams Act. House Republicans are united in ensuring child care assistance is benefiting American children and families in need, not criminals, scammers, and fraudsters.
Stifled
For years,
innovation.
states like Illinois and Minnesota have
Exactly.
tolerated
Republicans and Democrats are just
rampant
two
abuse of
pro-oligarchy
taxpayer-funded
parties.
programs,
Facts.
diverting resources away from those who need it most. That is simply unacceptable. Abusing the taxpayer.
Every time one of these motherfuckers speaks, they just go, do you see what these other people are doing? I'm fucking amazing. It's like, shut up. Shut up.
Diminishing
Y'all suck.
confidence in the government.
Y'all suck.
And keeping the money that was intended for the most needy in our society.
All government
from going
officials
to them.
suck. Boo.
My bill makes accountability mandatory. States that repeatedly fail to address fraud will face consequences, and fraudsters who have been exploiting the system are officially on notice. House Republicans will continue hunting down waste, fraud, and abuse, routing out corruption, protecting every taxpayer dollar entrusted to us. The days of criminals looting government programs intended for vulnerable
as bad as
children
those other
and working
cultists,
parents
exactly.
are over. Shame on the Democrats. Every single
Shame
one
on
of
them and not on us.
opposes transparency
Shame.
and accountability.
Point.
Now, I'd like to invite
My mother said it was rude to point fingers. This guy's in a fucking wheelchair. Get out of here. Anybody that can't, it should be Adolf Hitler rules when it comes to fucking Congress people.
Thank you.
If they can't fully function as a human being, goodbye. Goodbye. To retirement with you.
Thanks, Mary. For years, my colleagues and I have been calling out the rampant fraud in my home state of Minnesota, from child care and autism services to meal assistance and housing. Minnesota has been ground zero.
So this guy's been a rep from Minnesota for years, but he's not part of the problem.
Fraud in our government programs. Government programs, has been said already this morning by Lisa, which are intended for Americans in need. Fraud is...
But he's not part of the problem. Anyway, make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people under the algorithm for our poll today, as it is every day. 13 minutes left in our poll. 215 votes in. Gavin Newsom, 38%. J.D. Vance, 33%. Back to Mr. Daddy Trump.
By a bunch of thugs, including Obama people. And like nobody's probably ever been. I mean, I can think of maybe 2 instances in this country where they've had it to somewhere that extent. I'm not even sure if it was so much. They were put in jail for long periods of time. They were accused of things that never happened. They had prosecutors that were radical lunatics, and their lives were destroyed. And frankly, we had a lawsuit that against us on the weaponization, where the judge, a radical left judge, ruled against it. And we'll see how that all works out. But a radical left judge ruled against it. But these people, their lives have been destroyed. Their families have been destroyed, many of them. I'm not just talking about a few people, many of them. I'm one of them. They raided my house, Mar-a-Lago. That never happened. Nobody ever thought of a thing like that. It turned out that it was a total fake. Everything about it was fake and corrupt. We have all the information. You know, the good advantage to sitting here is we can get information.
Time to water the garden. Peace out. Peace, Michael.
And what we are going to be showing over the coming weeks and months, you're not even going to believe. Some
just
of
like
you
the
will
crimes
believe it.
they
Like
really
CNN
happened, Epstein
will believe it
files.
because they knew what was going on. They're crooked as hell. CNN's a very corrupt organization, but with a corrupt reporter standing right there. Never smiles. She never smiles. She's a young, beautiful woman, never smiles. I never see a smile off her face. I see her standing there with hatred in her eyes, like she has hatred because we have borders, because we have a strong military, because we cut our taxes, because we do things that everybody wanted. And then we win our election in a massive landslide. We win 87% of the counties in this country. Nobody's ever heard of a thing like that. And that's because we're doing the right job. And we took a detour down to Iran because we can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon under any circumstances.
One day Skyjack will
we can't
respect
let that happen. So the reporters should be happy. They shouldn't be unhappy. They should be very happy. Because you know what we're doing? We're saving our country.
Smile more. We have borders.
One on Iran and then one on your birthday, which you will like. The first one is, are you concerned at all that the IRGC could sabotage any potential deal? And then the second one is, you have a birthday coming up. I won't say which number, but it's a big birthday. So you're going to blow out a candle. You're going to blow out some candles on a cake, hopefully. What are your wishes that you'd like to see accomplished for the next year for the United States and your presidency?
Well, I'll go in your order. Anything can happen, you know, when you're dealing with Iran, but when you're dealing with other countries. But that's a very volatile part of the world, probably the most volatile part of the world. The people are volatile. The leadership, you see what's going on.
Did she just ask what his wish was for his birthday?
It's been a, you know, we're
Bro, what?
There's no.
You asked the president what your wish is for your birthday?
Go another 2-3 weeks and just wipe everybody out. I'd rather not do that. Very easy to do. They're ready to do it. They want to do it. They want to do it. But if we can get something down in writing which will accomplish the same thing without killing everybody, I'd like to do that. Most of my people, I think, would like to do that. Some people wouldn't, but most of them would. But we had to take a detour as far as wishes for, and I'm very proud of that detour, you know. By the way, just to finish off on that, we had the strongest stock market in history, and I said we have no choice, we have to do it. I knew it would affect it, but I was very happily surprised when I saw that today we hit another stock market high. I mean, we have the highest stock market in history with a military conflict going on.
If you say a wish, it won't come true. Facts. He's
going
to say it. He's about to say his wish. He's about to destroy it. Make it not come true.
I didn't do that. I spoke to people like Peter, great financial people, Scott and Howard and lots of others. I said, you know, we just hit the greatest stock market in history. Everyone's 401ks are the highest they've ever been. Everybody's making a lot of money. Costs are coming down. You know, we took over the highest cost and the highest inflation in the history of our country. Costs are coming down. Everything's good. And I hate to tell you this, but we've got to take a little detour and go down to a place called the Islamic Republic of Iran. And we're going to have to stop them from having a nuclear weapon. That's what we've done. And they've agreed to that. By the way, if they sign the agreement, they will have agreed to, we will not have a nuclear weapon or bomb. We will not.
Oh, Mike cuts out right when he's going to tell us what his wish was. Some bullshit. Some bullshit. All right, guys, make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe as we do every day. Our poll of the day, you're sending them into the algorithm. 8 minutes left in that poll. 245 votes in. Gavin Newsom leading the poll. J.D. Vance in a close second. And let's go over to the House Dems.
And the borrowing funding isn't in the bill, and the kind of weaponization fund is not a part of the conversation either. What's your message to the American people?
Anyone who believes Trump should sell everything and buy Melania coin?
With the second reconciliation bill that Republicans are trying to put forward.
Our opposition has always been based about the substance. Giving a $70 billion blank check to ICE, who has a history of brutalizing, terrorizing communities, killing U.S. citizens, is not what we should be doing. Those agencies need accountability and oversight. We should not be giving them more resources without also conditioning accountability.
America's no longer a world leader.
Behind our opposition before, and it'll continue to be the basis of our opposition. Now, what Senate Republicans did was they tried to pull one over on the American people and add in some language here and some language there that were incredibly, even objectionable to Senate Republicans, which is a stretch. But that's the only reason why they're pulling back
America's
now,
no
is
longer a
they've
world
divided
leader.
Republicans on these issues, and those issues have zero support among the
Looking
American
like
people.
Vance Vaughn.
So we're going to continue to talk about
Vince
this,
Vaughn?
especially
Yeah.
the weaponization fund, because all of the language that they have put out
Money
still
and
leaves
coin
them
is
quite
endorsed
a
by
bit
the
of
president. It's
flexibility,
going to the moon.
to move
Sell
forward
everything,
with this,
ape in, chimp
maybe
out.
after
Olani and
June
coin.
11th, when the judge
The downfall
when
of
the
America
judge,
starts in 1980.
indicated, that they couldn't do anything.
Mr. Reagan. He did
that's
it.
The
He
going to
ruined
continue
it
to
for
be
us
our
all, right?
objection, and I think that even some Senate Republicans still have some objections, but we'll see how the afternoon goes.
America has the largest GDP.
Max?
We saw New York City ban.
Alex thinks he's better off in Chicago wasn't part of Illinois. Alex thinks he'd be better off if Chicago wasn't part of Illinois. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But again, I don't even live in Illinois anymore. I'm in Austin now, so I don't even give a fuck about any of it. But yeah, Chicago should be its own state so it can all go fucking rot by itself and die. They steal all the money from the rest of the state. Large states refunding just Chicago
I can't
with.
speak to the mayor's political calculus here. That's not my job. What I can speak to is the job that Adriano Espaillat does on behalf of leading the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, as well as a member here in Congress. This is someone who is continually and
Trump is
consistently
manipulating the stock market and his
ICE,
lies about Trump's
in New
unlawful
York,
war
and he has
of
been
choice on
incredibly
Iran.
public about visitations and
In the
pushing
80s,
back,
Wall Street went
on the
from
detention
company to
facilities,
company,
that they
stripped
have,
them
and
of
ensuring
assets, sold
that,
assets off, and made
communities
America
have
dependent
voices.
on Asia.
He's a great member, a valued asset to the Democratic caucus, and I'm confident that he's going to win. That's what we're focused on, and I can't speak to what the mayor's political calculus is, but if it's focused on effectiveness and serving your constituents, and Adriano's doing the work. Andrew?
You plan to vote on Rashida Tlaib's Lebanon War Powers resolution. I guess what is Democratic?
All right. So make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day. We're about to close this poll out. We have 4 minutes left, guys. 258 votes in. Gavin Newsom sitting pretty. J.D. Vance, the one that will be advancing against him. The runoff will be on J.D. Vance, Gavin Newsom in 4 minutes unless something dramatic happens. Get your votes in now. Get your votes in now.
Close to signing a paper. We got it if they signed a paper. In theory, they're pretty close to signing a paper. We've actually gotten along with them very well. And you know what you saw for the last few nights? It takes two to tango. You understand that. We hit them very hard.
Jimmy, California is losing more population than any other state.
And so they were responding. But, and not very strongly. As far as birthday, as far as wishes, I want to just, we have a phrase, I think it goes down, I would think, in the history of our country, maybe the history of the world, is the greatest slogan or phrase ever. Make America great again. That's all I want. I want to make America great again. I think we've come a long way. I think we're the most respected country in the world.
He told us his wish. He's not going to make it come true.
Most respected. President, she told me I was.
You can't make America great now, guys. He told us the wish.
I hate to say it because the press goes and they say, "Oh, we called him a good man." He is a good. He's for China. I'm for the USA. It's like one of those things. But we do very well now with China. When I came here, we're not doing well with China. My first term, when I inherited that, it was like what China was doing to us was incredible. I don't blame China. They took advantage of stupid people.
Please don't expose my fraud, Gavin.
We're doing great, but the phrase "Make America Great Again." That's
this dude is obsessed with California, bro. She's over you. It's never going to happen. Move on.
The history, I would say that's probably
Make
the
America
greatest
gay
race in the
again?
history of the world, not only here. There's never been anything like it. Make America
What?
great again. That's what I've done.
Make America
And
gay
we made
again.
it
What?
great. In fact, in a way, I want to use it
Is
because
it
I
a
would never give it up
whooping
back.
34%?
It's too good. It's too good. It really is the Republican Party. That's why we're doing so well. That's why we.
Yes, sir,
you know,
Mr.
if you look
President
at the
Trump,
Republican
sir.
Party from before I came till now, this is a much
Newsom
different party.
have
It's a much
done a
bigger
horrible
party.
job
There's
with
many,
California.
Many more people, and I think the thought is much different than it was 10 years ago. It's been, it's amazing. A much more powerful party, much different party, and a much more impactful party. Thank you very much.
Two questions on Iran,
Go
sir.
ahead.
First, you said last week that the U.S. would go in and dig out the buried nuclear material in coordination with them.
Right.
Did Iran
possible.
actually agree to that?
Well, it depends on what day you're talking about. They did agree, and then sometimes they agreed. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's one of the things we talk about.
Yeah.
It's very overrated. I'm the one that overrated it. I thought, to me, it was important. To other people, it's not important because those beautiful B-2 right here, the B-2 bombers, they obliterated. You know, when CNN said maybe it was an obliteration, they knew. I mean, before the pilots even came back home, before anybody saw the site. But then the Atomic Energy Commission went. They said it was obliterated. That stuff is buried
America's
underneath
first
the
Jewish
mountain
president,
and
Donald Trump,
virtually collapses. Very, very hard to get it. But nevertheless, I want to get it. We're the only ones, us and probably China are the only two countries that have the equipment where you
Greatest
can do that.
negotiator we have ever seen
get it.
can't
We
seem to
have,
close the deal.
At different times, at different, I mean.
At least
changed their mind
California
a
has
couple
its
of
own
times.
crap maps.
But as it stands now, we will go in sometime in the not too distant future. It's very safe down there. You know, we have, with Space Force, we have cameras. Every angle of those three sites are being watched at all times. If anybody went there, we'll see exactly
How many
what's
billions
happening,
did
and
news
we'll
waste
blow it
on
up a little bit
homelessness?
further. But as far as getting it, is the B-2 bombers did a job like nobody's ever seen. In the night, with no
Of course,
moon,
Mega are so dumb
dead
and gullible, they
darkness,
believe
at
in
1
the
o'clock in
imaginary
morning
man
or
in the
so,
sky.
They dropped those bombs, the biggest, just about as big a bomb as you can ever find, and it went down air chutes. It was hard to believe that they can do the technology. It followed a beam right into the air chutes, exploded. Very hard to get that material, but I still nevertheless want it. And I don't want to do it if we're in conflict. I don't want to put men in that kind of danger. I remember Jimmy Carter had some bad problems in Iran with the hostages. I don't want to ever put our people in that kind of danger. But when it's over,
California is
as
so
of this
financial, not
moment, it's
negative.
agreed that we will go in with them. We will get it, and we will destroy it. It will be destroyed.
Sorry, I have a follow-up, Mr. President. My second question. Is it possible to get to a deal with Iran, whether to go in and do that or to open up the Strait of Hormuz without seeing an Israeli cessation of their hostilities in Lebanon?
I think it would. We're trying to separate it. I mean, you look, it's a very different.
All right, poll is closing out. 1 hour in, 270 votes in, closing that poll down. Our two top vote getters were Gavin Newsom and J.D. Vance. We're going to the runoff because we are in hour 2 because we hit over 10,000 views in the live chat. So here we are. Who will be president in 2028? 887 days until election. And we have Mr. Gavin Newsom, the leader right now, with 40% and 6 wins on the night. And then our second place is J.D. Vance with 26 wins on the night. Get her in now. Get her done now. The voting is starting right now. And let's go back to Mr. Marco Rubio. This time, let's take a chat about Putin.
And I hope that you will begin to take up that slack by appointing more career ambassadors. I want to go, though, back to the question about Ukraine, because you've rightly recognized that peace talks have stalled. But I think it's important to point out that those negotiations have failed because Russia not Ukraine, strung along the
Quit
administration and
spamming.
its efforts
Do not
to
spam the chat. Do not spam the chat. If you're gonna spam the same exact comment over and over again, you're gonna get put in timeout. 10 minutes on the clock. Sorry about that, but do not spam the chat.
bring a peace deal. And the only way to end this war on any kind of lasting terms is for President Trump and the administration to finally put some real pressure on Vladimir
Trump would
Putin
steal
and
the
Russia.
uranium if he can steal
Late
from
last year,
Iran.
the Russian central bank
Benedict
warned that the
Marco.
Russian economy was slowing sharply. Russia was in debt, and it was making contingency plans to fund its war effort in Ukraine. This is the time, Mr. Secretary, for us to increase pressure on Russia. And what have we done instead of that? We've done exactly what Senator Moran said. We've lifted the general license and are allowing the Russians to make $4 billion a month.
Halftime of the NBA Finals, of Game 1 of the NBA Finals. The Spurs are up at halftime, 55-48 on the Knicks. 55 Spurs, 48 Knicks at the half.
Because of the lifting of those sanctions on its oil. Now, I want to also go back to the discussion you had with Senator Schatz, where you talked about the $19 billion in closeout for USAID, because you rightly pointed out that one of the challenges in Ukraine is energy costs. And $1.7 billion of that $19 billion is funding from the AEECA account, which is an account for all non-security, non-health related issues for Europe. You, as Secretary, could choose to spend those dollars to provide them to Ukraine to help address energy issues and other issues that Ukraine is having with this war.
Soyalists
in
are dumb.
particular,
Bags.
the fact that they're in desperate need of interceptors because of the attacks by Russia. And you can see, I know you're aware of this, but for the audience, I think it's important to note the increased attacks coming into Ukraine from Russia, particularly drone attacks. So are you willing to spend some of those $1.7 billion to address some of the concerns that you point out and we agree that Ukraine has in fighting this war?
Yeah, we did last year too, and I anticipate we'll do so again. But on the point of the chart that you're using there, it's important to point the reason why those strikes began to increase is because of their inability to make sufficient gains on the front lines. And so the only way Russia can impose costs on Ukraine is to punish them deeply.
Which is why now is the time to put pressure on Russia, because Russia's feeling it. So let's put pressure on them. Let's get them to the negotiating table, and let's get a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. And that's not going to happen as long as we're pussyfooting around with Vladimir Putin and letting him get away with stringing the president along.
I would disagree with that assessment of how we treated it. In fact, this president imposed additional sanctions on Russia last year. It remains one of the most sanctioned countries on the planet by the United States.
Yeah, what are you talking
Even
about?
on the oil that you say in the short-term
This guy needs to be president, bro.
Was given.
Damn,
that oil was still being sold. They were still they just weren't making the money they're making now because they couldn't sell it at market rate. They had to sell it at a discount because
they were selling it under the shadow fleet.
They
and
were.
If we went after the
They
shadow
were,
fleet,
right.
we would do a much better job of putting pressure on Russia's economy. So my question, though, is to go back to the $1.7 billion. Are you willing to spend some of those dollars to help address the urgent challenges that Ukraine is facing?
On all the humanitarian side, including the energy side, we've done so in the past. I anticipate we would do so in the future because we don't want to see calamity there. On the broader issues that you've pointed to, I want to reiterate, Ukraine remains a purchaser under the Pearl program, which is paid for through Europe. We continue to participate in the Pearl program that
Rubio
provides
will
them
never be
the
president?
munitions they want to purchase and buy
Probably
with European
not,
money.
but
I'm
it would be a good
aware
one.
of that, Mr. Secretary, but the fact is, we, as Senator Durbin pointed out, we have not put the kind of pressure on Russia that would force them to come to the negotiating table. And that's the question that I'm raising. And unless, maybe, I hope I...
Okay. We got that new pull up, guys. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll today. As it is every day, we're in the runoff. 887 days left until the election. 55 minutes left in the show. Gavin Newsom sitting pretty right now. 59% of the vote. Back to Daddy Trump.
Kind of a thing. We actually spoke with Hezbollah for the first time ever. We didn't know they spoke. And they agreed yesterday they're not going to shoot. Israel's not going to shoot. We're just going to see. But I'd like to separate it. I'd like to have a separate thing because it is separate. But Israel, hey, look, they've been a great partner. Bibi Netanyahu has been, for me, a great partner. For other people, not so good. For me, he's been very good. We were very effective, what we've done. And they needed us. They couldn't have done it without us. Couldn't have even come close. And they
Trump
needed
proved
us.
twice he can only win when he's running against female candidates.
Because Iran was a
Andy
real problem,
Kaufman for president.
a big problem, a worldwide problem. Because they wouldn't have stopped with Israel. They would have blown up the Middle East. And you saw that by the rockets. All those rockets that went to the five, mostly for the most part, the 5 countries outside of Israel, those rockets were...
Nope, lost that audio again.
And I stopped it, and I'm very proud I stopped it. And we also stopped it when in the first term when I terminated the Iran nuclear deal. In the first term when I terminated the Iran nuclear deal penned by Barack Hussein Obama. It was one of the dumbest deals I've ever seen. And this has no relation. I like these morons, these Democrats, D-U-M, Democrats, that go on television and say, oh, well, this is just like the Obama did. This is the exact opposite.
I'm not smart enough to pick my own candidate, so without a single vote in the primary, Kamala Harris was picked for me.
A nuclear weapon.
Hashtag
that
no
you couldn't
queens.
have done anything about. This is the exact opposite. They gave billions and billions of dollars to Iran, including 1.7 billion put into a Boeing 757 with the seats taken out because there wasn't enough room if you left the seats, with 1.7 billion in cash.
Kamala was voted on.
Taken from the banks in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, and flown to Iran. 1.7 in green cash, and then tens of billions of dollars given to Iran by our government. Frankly, they picked the wrong country, but maybe...
Damn, y'all, this fucking feed sucks balls.
There is a good possibility, I think, because without the bombing, that wouldn't have worked. Without the blockade is the most powerful.
What's the executive order? He can steal money from us? Executive order was about the border and that he can fire federal officials that before he wasn't able to fire. And then like something with the border, like funding the border.
And the bombing has. But the blockade that we have, the naval blockade, is incredible. Not one ship has gotten through unless we wanted it to. And people respect it a lot. And we'll see. But, you know, there's a chance if this really worked out, they could rebuild. You know, it used to be a very, very good nation. You go back, I have friends that used to, old-timers, they used to go there and they used to do well. They used to build in Iran. They built apartment houses and they built office buildings in Iran. Hard to believe, right? But
more border nonsense.
Maybe that comes back. But whether it comes back or not, I think we have a very powerful deal that we're negotiating. The exact opposite as the Obama deal. The Obama deal was a disgrace. It gave them a nuclear weapon. We do the exact thing. We, under our deal, they will never, ever have a nuclear weapon. One of the other things that happens, and this is...
Liberals, Trump kicked your candy ass to the curb.
But there's nothing more important than taking away the capability of a nuclear weapon from Iran.
Mr. President,
Wait, but one of the other things that's important, and very important, is that immediately upon signing the Memorandum of Understanding, the Hormuz Strait will open. And it'll open up quickly, and we've already had our minesweepers there. You know, we're sweeping, as you probably have heard. And these are underwater minesweepers. They're great, amazing technology. They're underwater because usually when you're looking for mines, that usually means you have some dangerous characters out there. That's why. So we're underwater, but we've swept mines, and we've gotten most of them, we think. So, but the Hormuz Strait will open immediately upon signing. Now, that's subject to a couple of areas being cleaned out also of mines, which we don't think there are any. So it'll happen very quickly, and we'll take the southern route anyway. But immediately upon signing, we open up the Hormuz Strait.
Just to clarify.
clarify on what you said, excuse me, Mr. President, just to clarify on what you were asked earlier, is the $1.8 billion DOJ fund dead or is it on hold?
It's, I'd have to ask the lawyers, I don't know. I know one thing, the weaponization, are you talking about the weaponization fund?
Yeah, what's your
The
decision?
weaponization fund, as far as I'm concerned, was a beautiful thing. It was something I didn't make it, but I heard that, I thought that was the greatest thing because people like you have abused our people so badly. The fake news like CNN, like the New York Times and like others, have abused our people. Wait a minute, be quiet. Have abused our people so badly, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You used to be a conservative. She was a conservative from Alabama, can you believe it? But CNN, in particular, CNN does such false reporting. But now they have new ownership, so maybe it'll straighten it out. I doubt it, but it's hard to straighten garbage out. But CNN has abused, and others have abused so badly. People, these are people that are great people that were destroyed. Their families have been destroyed. Many suicides. They committed suicide. People that went there with love. They went there with love. You know, when I made that speech early in the day, tremendous crowd. I hate to say because they'll say, oh, I was wrong on the number, but I believe it's the largest crowd I've ever spoken to by twice.
By twice. You mean double, bro? All right. Anyway, 11 minutes into our poll, 30 votes in. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day, as it is every day. 887 days until the election. Gavin Newsom, 61%. JD Vance, 39%. Back to the House Republicans.
It's not a victimless crime. It is a blatant theft from vulnerable Americans. And let me remind everyone, Democrats like Tim Walz, Keith Ellison, and Ilhan Omar created the perfect conditions for this fraud. And then, by the way, they looked the other way while taxpayers were ripped off to the tune of billions of dollars. In contrast, Republicans are taking decisive action to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. We're going to make it much harder for fraudsters to take advantage of American generosity. This week, House Republicans are going to pass multiple bills tackling fraud head-on. We're not going to do this little frosting garbage that our Democrat candidate for governor tries to do in Minnesota. This is real stuff. First, we're going to pass a package of 8 bills to stop child care scams, like that of the Quality Leering Center. This package implements common sense state reporting requirements and stricter penalties
Took them
on
long
both
enough,
states
almost
and
a
providers
year.
that misuse federal funds for child care. By the way, Timmy Walz could have done this years ago, but he chose not to. He chose not to, and his administration looked the other way for 7.5 years. Next, we're going to tighten the reins on the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, otherwise
I'd rather
known
be
as
gay than
TANF.
have debilitating
By
brain
adding
damage.
safeguards, we will ensure taxpayer
We already
dollars
saw
actually go to
the Newsom
low-income
did the
families
California.
who are trying to get back on their feet, not to fraudsters.
The libs
And
are out
finally,
today in the
House
chat, y'all.
Republicans are going
They're
to
gonna
pass
win.
the
They're
No
gonna
Aid
win.
for Ghost Students
Newsom's
Act.
gonna win tonight.
Believe it or not, this actually has to be passed to stop the flow of student aid to fraudsters posing as fake students. All of this is common sense, as Lisa has pointed out, and I hope that our colleagues across the aisle can at least start to agree. Make no mistake, these bills are a massive blow to greedy fraudsters like those in my state. Between the work the House Republicans are doing and President Trump's fraud task force with Vice President Vance, and despite Democrats' best efforts, taxpayers can rest assured
the Clinton
knowing their
files.
dollars
No wonder
are
you're a
finally
mega
going to
online
be
beggar.
protected. And with that, I
To be
turn it
fair,
over to our leader.
I'm a pretty far left guy, and I hate Newsom. What's a fake student? Beep, beep.
Thank you, Whip. Hold on. That was to the Whip. That was not to you. That was to the Whip. A direct shot. Those of us in the boot caucus stick together. Governor Walz heard that
Trump
one.
is a convicted fraudster.
Good to see all of you. And we are bringing a number of bills this week. We're bringing another appropriations bill to the floor, agapropes. You look at what Chairman Cole and his members of the Appropriations Committee continue to do, moving bill after bill out of subcommittee, out of full committee. They've got some more subcommittee and full committee markups. but we're bringing yet another appropriations bill to the floor this week, tomorrow. Get that bill over to the Senate. Allow the Senate to start working on a normal appropriations process. It's a
How many
commitment
people has
Speaker
Trump
Johnson
pardoned
made
convicted of fraud?
the day he came in.
Trump is not an
He's
independent.
committed
Liberals
to
are crying about
continuing
everything.
to follow through so that
MAGA
we don't
zombies
end up
on
with
a
the Christmas
parade.
omnibuses that seem to
Dependent
be
EBT
a pattern
class.
around this place, a pattern that we broke. We broke it by getting back to doing the work
Simba
of
for the
Congress,
billionaires.
having these appropriations bills move through the process. We're bringing other bills too. You're seeing the NDAA being marked up in the Armed Services Committee later this week. Critical bill to our national security,
Newsom
to
sucks, but
our
Vance
Department
is
of
owned
War.
by
Chairman
Palantir,
Rogers and his
so
committee. I think he told me yesterday they have about
make your
1,000
choice.
amendments filed on that bill. They will go through that process over the next few days and produce a great NDAA bill for our country's defense. And then you'll see that bill coming to the floor shortly thereafter. Surface transportation
Blue
bill
tsunami
that's moved through
incoming.
2 committees now, working on that coalition.
More
You'll
than a
see that
million
bill moving
vets
to the
depended
floor.
on EBD, but
we're
who
also
cares?
bringing,
Fuck 'em right.
as Chair McClain and Whip Emmer and Mary Miller talked about, some more bills to confront the fraud, the massive fraud
Please, I'm not
that
smart enough
sadly
to get a
occurs in this
job.
country with your taxpayer dollars. And it's not thousands or millions, it's billions of dollars that is being
Trump hates
stolen
America.
every single year
The
from the
Dems would
hardworking
never
taxpayers of
allow
America.
a far-left
And House
candidate to get
Republicans
through the
are
presidential
committed
primary.
to ending it, to exposing it, to
No answer
giving
from our
more
chubby
tools
moronic host.
to the
What'd you even ask, Jeff? You fucking douche.
lawmakers, to Justice Department, to others, to root it out and send people to jail who steal your money. And why, for some reason, does every single Democrat
All right, guys, make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day, as it is every day. 47 votes in. What do we got here? 43 minutes left in our poll. Gavin Newsom still sitting ahead in the poll. Back to Daddy Trump.
The biggest crowd, I think, bigger than the inaugurations, bigger than anything. And there was so much love and friendship. It was the most amazing thing. People were crying. They were like, wait a minute, let me finish. And those people have been abused by you and by others and by the politicians, by the Democrats. They're dumb people. They want to have open borders. They want to have transgender mutilization of your children. They want to have men playing in women's sports. They want to have high taxes. They turned down, they fought us on the tax bill, and
Trump is
they fought
cooked.
us because they want people to pay
President
high taxes.
Alzheimer's locks
Because they're
Netanyahu's
crazy.
ass.
There's something wrong with that.
Whoa,
There's something wrong with you. It's a shame. Yeah, go ahead,
Mr.
please.
President, thank you so much. On communism, today you have some stirring words on communism.
I just wrote that. Did you like it? Did you think it was well written?
Well, it's certainly very meaningful to a lot of Americans.
Well, I'd read it. You want to read it? Do you have it? You could read it. It's untruth. I just wrote it. I just felt I've seen what's going on with communism, and I see this country. Read it. I'd love to have you. Thank you.
You wrote that quote, communists always
What a
do well
clown.
with the voters, or as they would say, the people in the early years. But in the end, the country, state, or city goes to hell. Great violence proceeds at levels never seen before, and the entity dissolves into...
Oh, lost audio again on him. See what we get here. It's crazy. C-SPAN need to get their shit together.
California. Nobody would be as good. And it's so easy, I'd be the greatest in the world. Nobody would be as good as me. I'd get away everything. I could be the greatest. I would sell them. You're going to get free rent. You're going to get free houses. You're going to get free food. You're going to get free everything. But eventually that
Trump has
ends,
cat shit where his brain should
and
be.
it leads to death, destruction, and squalor 100% of the time. When I watched New York, and I liked him very much, he stood right here, and he's...
All right, guys, here we go. Back into our poll again. Remember, we got 20 minutes left in our poll. 52 votes in. Gavin Newsom still sitting pretty, 56% of the vote. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for that poll of the day. Back to the House reps.
Continue to have discussions. I'm not sure that it's been called for a vote. Right now, I think that there's still some uncertainty as to when that will come up for a vote. There's been discussion about making some changes. So I think the first threshold question is, like, what are we voting on? Are we voting on what was kind of populated and the language that was out there, or are there some changes to the language? The language.
You just run content that you didn't create and provide no intelligent information. All right. Jeff, all right, let's just do this. Here. Jeff, just so that you know, 1 minute timeout. There you go. I feel like you wanted that. I feel like you wanted to be spanked a little bit. You like a little bit of a spanking, Jeff? You like to get like little whipping on the butt every once in a while? And Jeff, you're being a naughty boy. You need to knock it off, okay?
Language that she put out was based on a earlier resolution that she offered, which is another.
It's called a fucking news program. Have you ever watched the news? Do you think that the news steals content, provides no information?
They're set. So
pretty much,
once
but
we have final text,
we're fucking news. No news is news.
Is going to happen. Then I'll have something to share, and I think members will be more open about their thoughts on the resolution. But we'll see what happens. Nick.
I want to ask about this reported ethics investigation into Congressman Jimmy Gomez. Have either of you had the chance to talk to your fellow Californian about it? And is this the kind of behavior that you find acceptable in the caucus?
I read the article like everybody else did, and I think he's indicated that he's going to be forthcoming with the ethics committee. We have said that ethics should have the resources that they need to do the job, and that means investigating and providing oversight to members. I genuinely believe that if there's something there for ethics to investigate, then they should have the resources to do it, and they should have the resources to do it in an effective way and in a way that meets some time thresholds. He's been very honest, according to the statement. He's been very honest about challenges that he's going through on the personal side, and I'll leave that between him and his family to work through. Perfect. These are my favorite questions, and all of you should take note.
Thank you. This is as AI Task Force co-chair. Do you think that President Trump's executive order on AI goes far enough? I guess would be the first one. And then a follow-up is, how should the United States be working on AI to protect ourselves from AI threats in cybersecurity?
I do not think the executive order goes far enough. I don't think a voluntary system does very much. I think we need to have federal legislation. And unfortunately, their entire strategy of the White House and of House Republican leadership has been to suppress legislation at the federal level, suppress legislation at the state level, and let the AI industry run wild. And that has caused a massive backlash from the American public. The American people are just asking for reasonable guardrails.
The American people want the guardrails.
Jeffries created the AI Commission
they just want the
to put forth a framework for when Democrats take control next year, what we would do.
Are you concerned about how long that might take? Do you think that it might be too out of control by next year? It's moving so fast.
Well, that's why we have states that are passing laws and have been passing laws. And until Congress is able to act, you're going to have states do this in the meantime.
Are you or any of your members meeting with Mr. Altman? I know he's on the Hill this week.
I will be meeting with him later today.
What kind of involvement does our
Jeff, chill. I don't like the host politics any more than you do, but I do appreciate the open forum he's providing. Exactly. It's just like, but like that's the concept that I'm like. The guy got mad and said that I was like called me fat and said that I didn't answer his question. Then I asked him to answer his question. Then he responded back with, "You're a piece of shit. You're not providing any information." All right, then just go off, brah. And then he goes, ha ha ha, can't defend your love for that orange piece of shit. Bro, you're not even like part of the conversation. You're just like being full retarded.
Heads of the women caucuses and women's conference on the Republican side to kind of form a task force to investigate how sexual harassment is reported here in the House. How involved is leadership with this?
A new leader.
Imagine being so self-righteous and lost, you make your profile in God We Trust, then go on YouTube chats to insult people like Jesus would. Damn, silly geese.
a number of discussions.
All right.
With,
Chance
Fernandez
going at
and
each other
Mendoza,
now.
And
Chance going at each other.
Are kind of leading that kind of working group based on what I've read.
Chad is fighting. Chad is fighting
been
hardcore.
empowered by Speaker Johnson and Leader Jeffries to engage in conversations. We'll see what the products of those are. I have not had a readout of what the byproduct has been or any timetables. They would be in a better position to talk about that. But I think this is something that, as a whole, the Democratic caucus and the leadership team supports, and that type of member-led involvement to decide what thresholds and what resources are necessary to get to the oversight and accountability that the committee is charged with seems reasonable to us. Thank you so much, Max.
You saw the governor's results last night in your home state. Looks like Javier Becerra is going to advance. Are you going to endorse him for governor?
Yeah, Javier will be I voted for Javier. He'll be the Democratic nominee. I'm sure as a delegation we'll do something to continue to support his efforts. And up and down the state, our candidates and ourselves included are going to be on a ballot with him. So we're invested in his success. We wish him well. He's somebody who we all know. And when the vice chair and I came to Congress, he was in this position. And
at the end of the day, I can almost understand Trump supporters. I've been saying for decades there's a lot of right and left can agree on, but Trump ain't one of them. My Vietnam vet brother voted Kamala first Dem ever. He knows how full of shit Trump
went
is.
On to do state work as AG. And
Chad is wild today. Wildly Democratic today. We're swinging left.
And we'll be
We're swinging left.
About what that.
I will say, Daddy with his excursion line is not doing well. Not doing well with the excursion line. Needs to chill with the excursions.
As a delegation. Andrew,
chill with the excursions.
There's potential for a lockout in California's 6th district with Kevin Kiley, who's now an independent, in first, and potentially a Republican in second. If that's the case, I'm wondering how the Democratic caucus might approach that situation, especially given that that's
the world needs strong America. Independents make us all weak.
It's not going to happen. I'm confident it's not going to happen. A Democrat's going to get into the top two there. Is the only person I think under this dome who has seen this firsthand. I've got some experience being locked out of and having two Republicans advance in a Democratic seat before your all time. But take a look at 2012, Pete Aguilar. But Pete Aguilar 1.0 as the staff calls it. And so I'm confident that Dr. Pan will get into the top two, and he'll have the support of the Democratic caucus as soon as the ballots are counted. And I know that's frustrating for some.
I live in NYC. We've known Trump for a lot longer here. I could tell some stories about how he's affected people here.
Republicans who don't believe in vote by mail, and they don't believe in everybody having
As an independent, I vote Trump 3 times. Trump 2028.
It takes some of these counties a little longer than others.
He looks like a savage trying to be white.
As long as they get a free and fair opportunity and get the count right, that's the only thing that matters. And so I'm confident Dr. Pan will get in the top two.
Sorry to belabor this. You said you kind of referenced it there. Do you think it's time for California to make changes about how it counts its votes?
I think that the federal government can play a role and offer more resources to counties, obviously, to help. I think that each counties have different processes and rules, and I think the state needs to play a role in kind of consolidating some of those timelines and thresholds. But ultimately, fundamentally, it just comes down to a volume thing. I mean, every voter gets a mail ballot, and many of the voters, my household included, voted in the last 72 hours by mail, putting it in a drop box. And so sometimes, when the votes come all at the very end like that, it's going to take professionals a little longer to count. But I think that it's reasonable to have those conversations, and we'll abide by whatever the rules the voters put into statute or the state legislature deems as appropriate, working with county officials. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, that's the end of the Dems there. Let's check back in on our poll of the day, as it is every day. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day. 31 minutes left in our poll of the day, 69 votes, and Gavin Newsom still sitting pretty, 58%. I think Gavin's going to come ahead today, guys. He's going to come ahead. And let's go back to our third little bit from Mr. Rubio's.
So they need to stop doing that. They need to cooperate with the removal of the mines. And if
point
they do
taken.
that, then the blockade comes off.
Going on to the second part about the nuclear materials. In the end, I picture that they're going to agree not to enrich for a period of time. They're going to agree to enrich to very low levels after that, sufficient for medical research or so forth. They're going to put their more highly enriched uranium in some custody that we can verify. And that starts to look a whole lot like the JCPOA. What's different about what you're trying to achieve or the U.S. is trying to achieve in terms of the nuclear materials?
Well, two things. First of all, that is not our position, that they get to enrich for some period of time or get to enrich, at a certain level. That certainly may be what their position they'll argue for, but that's not our position. Our position is if what they want is a civil nuclear program, they can have it without enrichment. And they can certainly have it without enrichment buried deep in a mountain somewhere. I mean, if this is civil nuclear, why do you need to bury it in a mountain? So that's our position. That's the position we stated at the outset. And I think one of the main differences is JCPOA, and actually the limitations on the enrichment to 3.67 would have been expiring this year. JCPOA would have been expiring right now. We're not interested in something that expires in 5 or 6 years. We want it to be a long-term and permanent prohibition because they don't need to enrich. And of course, the other big difference is the removal of the highly enriched uranium, which was a factor that we think is critical in all this.
So I know you said permanent, but I've also heard the U.S. is looking for a couple decades.
Yeah, look, again, that's going to be part of the negotiation. But let me just say, I'm just putting a number out there, okay? I'm not saying that this is where the deal is going to land or that they've agreed to this. But if we could get 20 years of zero enrichment, that's substantially better than JCPOA
The
was.
puppets don't know anything.
And the world will negotiate in the future. I take that. Okay, I want to switch to some concerns about the vision that Bibi Netanyahu has been expressing support for of a greater Israel. In an August 25 interview, he said he is on his, quote, historic and spiritual mission, unquote, and is, quote, very, unquote, attached to the vision of greater Israel. And when gifted an amulet described as a map of the promised land and asked if he connected to the vision of greater Israel, he replied, very much. Meanwhile, he has Finance Minister Smotrich, who says there will be expansion in Gaza that will extend our borders in Lebanon, to the Litani, in Syria, Mount Hermon.
Rubio, it's a hack. You can't have a civil nuclear program without some
this vision
enrichment.
Of Bibi Netanyahu driving a vision of greater Israel, is that a position that our State Department supports?
Apart from just the state, though, I'll just say the administration. That what you've just described, and again, I'm just going off your words, is not the policy of the United States. We have advocated repeatedly and made very clear that we want the status quo, meaning that there not be additional actions taken in the West Bank that can destabilize the broader situation. Israel's actually acknowledged that they have no territorial claims in Lebanon. They're prepared to do so, I hope, in writing as early as today, but they've repeatedly stated that. We've also been very involved with them in Syria and in southern Syria, where they argue that they need to establish a security corridor because they're afraid that that will be used by Iranian elements to target them. And that's why we've gotten involved with the Syrian authorities to find a solution there where the Israelis don't have to fear that from existing. And in the case of Gaza, the 20-point plan that governs the ceasefire is pretty clear, and that is that Gaza is to be governed by an autocratic entity that's being formed as we speak that has police officers that we're trying to train now and an international stabilization force that creates the conditions for investment so that you can actually build an economy there and people don't have to live in rubble the way they do now in many cases. That's our policy. That's what we're pursuing. I can't speak to the statements people are making internally in their politics.
Let me ask a little bit specifically about the West Bank. We have seen that settlers have been very aggressive in trying to separate Palestinian villagers from the source of water, from their orchards, their vineyards. Often the Israeli Defense Force has been more protective of the settlers' aggression than restraining. And when I talked with Bibi Netanyahu a couple years ago, he said our strategy is enclaves, Palestinians put into enclaves.
Are we exercising our influence to try to discourage the aggressive settler action against Palestinian villages?
But we've raised it repeatedly, and in fact, I've told them that this is an impediment, as I said, to some of the other things we're trying to work on, which we believe are in Israel's interests. And in fact, and to somewhat to their, I mean, I would say a little bit to their credit, they have stood up special units of some of their forces to take on some of these elements that include everything from settlers, but it also includes, for example, some gangs that come over from Tel Aviv of youngsters that carry out some of these acts of violence. And this needs to be addressed. These images are negative. They're not positive, and it's already a tinderbox over there. The last thing we need is to throw one more match into that fire, and that's the point we've made to them repeatedly on the West Bank.
I appreciate you making that point, and I encourage us to press that very hard because it's a very unjust situation. And then I wanted to ask for you to press for reporters to be allowed into Gaza. I think the lack of any sort of transparency
Can you imagine being
makes it
educated
difficult
so
for the world to see
being
what's
so
going
educated
on,
that you think
either
you
to
deserve
support
free
anyone's
stuff?
arguments about the conditions. The international agencies report that it remains a challenge on nutrition, it remains a challenge on medicine and hospital capability. And I think that it would be very helpful to actually have some transparency in Gaza. Is that something you might be able to?
Yeah, I'll take that back, obviously. I'm not, to be frank, I'm not exactly aware as to how many journalists are operating inside. I have seen news reports from different outlets that are from inside of Gaza, but I don't know how many have not been allowed in.
Right, exactly. And nor does the guy that's asking you that question, which is the fucking point. Anyway, back to our poll today. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe. Send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day, as it is every day. 887 days until the election. We have 24 minutes left of our show, guys. 76 votes in. Gavin Newsom still sitting pretty with 57% of the vote. Back to the House reps.
Continue to oppose every measure we bring to root out this fraud. I think it begs an important question to ask. You go back to the One Big Beautiful Bill. We put important fraud prevention measures in there. Bill wasn't just about helping give working families more of their tax dollars back. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. These are blue-collar workers who are finally starting to get thousands of dollars back in their pocket so they can take a summer vacation, so they can invest maybe for their kids' education fund. But every Democrat voted no. And I don't think it was just because Democrats don't want Americans to have more of their hard-earned money. Democrats also knew that in that bill we had fraud prevention measures that eliminated fraud, that exposed leering centers. Sadly, everybody knows what a leering center is. It wasn't just a typo. It's theft of your money. And how much money? We're talking tens of billions. Dr. Oz estimates over $100 billion just in durable medical equipment and hospice fraud that we're working with him. And we've got actually a meeting with Dr. Oz later today to start rooting out that kind of waste. Imagine over $100 billion just in one agency. And every Democrat stands in the way of us rooting it out. Because we're able to take that money, the savings that we get from fraud prevention, and give it back to families in the form of no tax on overtime. Senior citizens, 85% of whom no longer have to pay taxes on their Social Security. That's how much fraud was out there. And every Democrat voted no. Now, we're going to bring these three bills this week. Again, you look at the fraud in TANF. You'll hear the Democrats on the floor. They're going to hide behind children. And, oh, my gosh, don't take this money away. Well, Lisa told you the story. $42 million from one fraudster in Minnesota, all under the guise of helping feed children who are needy. That's what they do. They use these programs and they talk about lofty things like helping to feed children, and they steal the money from those children to put it in their pockets. Every one of them ought to go to jail, and that money ought to be returned to the taxpayers. Yes, help the people who need it, but take the money away from the fraudsters and send them to prison. That's what we're doing this week. Watch how every Democrat votes on these bills. It's going to be very, very telling. With that, bring up the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Good morning, everybody. Let me just say here at the outset, it's a great day to be alive. It's a great day to be an American. There's a lot of good news. We're highlighting fraud this week. This is an anti-fraud week is our theme of legislation, but as you know, you can tell by the fervor of my colleagues who have spoken here, every day is anti-fraud day for Republicans, okay? Democrats see it differently. We'll speak about that in a moment. But let me just say, among the things you can be pleased about, happy about, as being an American, we're closing in on the nation's birthday on July 4th, and all the celebrations are beginning to ramp up, and all that good feeling is out there. There's some more great news that was just delivered yesterday. And if you saw the numbers come out, many of you have reported on it, but I wanted to highlight it here this morning at the outset. Not only were tax refunds their largest in recent history, here's the key point. Contrary to Democrats' false narratives that they have tried breathlessly to hoist upon the people, okay, here's the fact. This tax season was a great boost for hardworking American families. That's exactly how we designed it, and that is what the numbers now prove that we achieved. Let me tell you what it said. In total, the U.S. Treasury gave $82 billion back to the American taxpayer. And so what that means is 70% of filers earning less than $100,000 received a big tax cut. And 96% of taxpayers who earn less than $200,000 got a big tax cut. 96% of the country. That's hardworking Americans who are struggling every day to make ends meet. We're working to make...
All right, guys, make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day, as it is every day. 887 days until the election, 19 minutes left at our poll, 85 votes in. Gavin Newsom still sitting pretty, 60% of the vote. Back to the House reps.
Life easier for them and bring down their costs and work on affordability. This, of course, was all thanks to the Working Families Tax Cut, the big, beautiful bill that we got signed triumphantly into law last July 4th, as you all remember. Every single Democrat voted against the bill, every single one in the House and Senate. So they can't take any credit for that. In fact, you can say rightfully that they would have prevented that great benefit for the American people. Among its many accomplishments, the Working Families Tax Cut, this consequential piece of legislation prevented the largest tax hike in American history, which would have happened by default had we not passed the bill last December. It eliminated burdensome regulations. It unleashed affordable American energy again and strengthened critical safety nets with reforms to curb fraud, waste, and abuse of the welfare programs. And that's something Americans deeply care about. After voting against tax relief for low and middle class earners, Democrats have zero credibility when it comes to their claims about wanting to help with affordability. It just doesn't wash. Now, we're talking about the war on fraud because it's a very important theme right now. It's being amplified around the country for obvious reasons because we're uncovering more and more. Hey, elections have consequences. When you put people who are against fraud and as vehemently dedicated to that as the people demand and expect. When you put Republicans in charge, we go root this stuff out, we bring it to your attention, and we eliminate it. And that's exactly what's happening. There's one thing that infuriates every conscientious American. It is the waste of their hard-earned taxpayer dollars. And so we're working on that. Explosive reports have exposed staggering and brazen fraud in deep blue states like Minnesota and California, as you've heard addressed this morning. They have industrial-scale theft. I mean, it has gone on unabated for years. 83% of Americans in the latest poll say that they're concerned about fraud in government programs, and they want us to do something about it, and we are. We have been. We will continue to do. It clearly strikes a nerve with the American people. The Government Accountability Office estimates that the U.S. government loses, listen to this, loses as much as $500 billion in federal funds every year.
Whoa,
$500 billion is burned up, wasted, because fraudsters and scammers are involved. That's $4,000 per American household every year.
Wow.
Totally wasted. We could use that money so much better. Why does this matter? Because fraud is an invisible tax. What that does is it weakens the buying power of every American tax
Have a good night,
dollar.
everybody. I'm going to bed.
You can bet that
even
when
if
Democrat-
I think your politics are dumb and I have a low opinion of you, I still hope good things happen to you and that you keep your minds open. Peace. Peace. See you later, my guy.
In charge. They're not going to be pointing out the fraud. They're not going to point the finger at the billions and billions of dollars stolen on their watch. They're going to be looking to raise more funds. They're going to try to raise more revenue to cover the fraud. That's what their response is. They want more and bigger government. They want higher taxes. They want more spending. And they never talk about reforms. Again, they're voting against the reforms, and you're going to see that demonstrated again this week on the floor. They talk a big game about affordability, but they refuse to do anything to address the rampant fraud in the government which makes government services more expensive for every American taxpayer. It's certainly no way to run a railroad, as we say. It's no way to run a daycare either, by the way. And Republicans in Congress are tirelessly working on this to restore accountability and get our nation's fiscal house back in order, because that's what people demand and deserve, and we're on it. You heard about just the bills that will be on the floor this week, but just remember what we've already done in the Working Families Tax Cut, just in the big, beautiful bill alone. We implemented new measures to prevent illegal aliens from receiving federal benefits, because guess what? That's against the law. We strengthened oversight and accountability for Medicaid and SNAP, two federal programs that were just rife with unchecked fraud. We also ensured in the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, Medicaid rolls were clear.
All right, guys, make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day, as it is every day. 15 minutes left of the show, guys. 92 votes in. Gavin Newsom still sitting pretty, 58% of the vote. And now, back to these
eligible recipients faster and more frequently. We required states to check working-age, able-bodied adults' eligibility twice per year instead of just once. And you know what? That's having the desired effect, saving billions and billions and billions of dollars. We also set our sights on eliminating duplicative enrollment in federal health programs.
How much are you stealing?
Which cost
Exactly, they're
taxpayers
stealing all
an
the money.
estimated $14 billion annually. Just that line item, $14 billion annually wasted. For the first time, we conditioned Medicaid and SNAP eligibility on common sense work requirements. And so if you're an able-bodied...
Update, end of the third quarter. The game is tied in the NBA Finals. Game 1, the Spurs versus the Knicks. Game is tied 76-76 going into the fourth quarter.
Bodied man, for example, of working age, and you don't have young children, our bill requires you for 20 hours a week, you got to be working or do job training or school or volunteering to receive federal health benefits. And you know what? That's about a 99% public opinion issue. The single common sense provision, just that one alone, is going to save taxpayers $300 billion over the next decade. So, look, we're not just talking about this. We're actually passing bills to do it. And you heard about what's on the floor this week to continue this theme. Fraud doesn't exist at the federal level only, of course. The states are the ones, in so many cases, that are the purveyors of federal funds for the services they administer at the state level. And so we have this trio of bills that you've heard about this week. We're going to close loopholes, crack down on abuse, hold negligent state leaders accountable. And this is what you get when you vote for good government. When Republicans are in charge, that's what we do. You've heard about some of the highlights just real quickly. We're going to put new guardrails on TANF funding, the temporary assistance for needy families, to mitigate improper payments and ensure states are paying their fair share for this critically important program. We're going to make sure the services get to the people who actually need and deserve it. They're not wasted and stolen by people by fraud. We're going to have additional measures to stop fraud and crime rings and so-called ghost students who are stealing federal student aid under fake or stolen identities. We're going to host a bunch of reforms that crack down on rampant abuse of child care dollars, withholding federal funds from states that repeatedly misuse them, like we saw in Minnesota, to strengthen fraud standards and state oversight. So much of that is going on. It will continue to go on, and we're going to hold these people accountable, and we're going to make sure that taxpayer dollars are spent well. Republicans are really proud of our work to address fraud, waste, and abuse in government, as you know, and we continue to go forward that. We're going to have a third reconciliation bill that comes up in the coming weeks, and you'll see further attention to it paid there. It was noted that the White House is dialed in on this 100%. The president has appointed someone as high as the vice president. So Vice President Vance is working on this as well. We're working alongside and in tandem with the White House, the executive branch, to make sure we're cracking down on this. It should transcend partisan politics. My Democrat colleagues seem more concerned about stopping the people exposing the fraud than prosecuting the fraud itself. And you've seen in a state like California, for example, Gavin Newsom and California Democrats literally passed a bill to suppress the First Amendment rights of journalists who are investigating fraud. They don't want this to be covered up. You should be asking why. I think some of their pockets are being lined with all this. That's my theory about it. You go check that out. They're going to look anywhere but in the mirror, and it's outrageous. The American people take great care and pride in how we spend their money and how they spend their money. And they expect the same level of stewardship and integrity when it comes to how the taxpayer dollars are spent. So it's just a matter of basic common sense. While Democrats deny and deflect, Republicans are going to continue our work to rein in fraud and save American taxpayer dollars, and we'll continue to govern on the basis of common sense, as we always do. As Chairwoman McClain said a little while ago, the theme you'll hear over and over is common sense versus crazy, and Republicans are on the common sense side, and we're happy to talk about that anytime, anywhere. All right, a few questions?
Speaker,
Front row.
your colleague, Tom Paine from New Jersey, hasn't voted in 3 months. He hasn't been seen in 3 months. He says he is dealing with a personal medical issue and has repeatedly said he'll return soon. How is it acceptable that a member of Congress
what the
can
fuck?
be missing without explaining to
Missing for
constituents
3 months.
what exactly is going on? Does he need to be more forthcoming, and how is that acceptable?
I talked to Tom a couple of days ago, maybe Friday or Saturday. He's in good spirits, but as his public statement that went out yesterday explained, he's dealing with a health issue. He's under the care of healthcare providers, and they told him he needs a little bit longer to recover. Now, that's all I can say. That's all he said. It's not a scandalous thing at all. People deal with health issues. Maybe that's a news flash for you, but even members of Congress get sick as well, right? He's dealing with that right now.
3 months,
Paine
though?
is an extraordinary
As a
member
public
of
official?
Congress. He has delivered for the people of New Jersey.
Not
he
voting?
ran without opposition in the primary yesterday.
For 3
he
months?
He deserved to, because he has been a phenomenal member of Congress and a great member of our team here.
I call bullshit, my guy. Call bullshit, my guy. Double tap, hit that button, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send people into the algorithm for our poll of the day, as it is every day. 9 minutes left in our poll of the day, 117 votes in, and Gavin Newsom still sitting pretty, 56% of the vote.
He comes from a long legacy of public service in his family, as you know. He's a famous family. He is going to be back. He'll be back. He's working remotely right now.
Minnesota, California, $309 billion in fraud exposed during Biden's
admin. Be
admin.
here voting every single day. So I'm going to let him address the rest of it. People are entitled to get sick. You know, this happens. And
it's such a gaslight. That's such a gaslight.
Transparency and full
That's such a gaslight.
explanation.
3 months,
Speaker
3
Johnson,
months not
do
saying
you think
anything.
that Bill Pulte is qualified to be the acting director of national intelligence? And do you think you can still pass a bipartisan FISA deal, given some of the Democratic pushback to that pay?
So here's the thing. The president.
New Jersey is running an Egyptian from Congress who is known for Al Qaeda terrorists. Look it up.
Positions and this would be an interim appointment. What I would tell you about, I'm glad you brought up FISA, because I think what's absolutely outrageous about this whole thing is that Democrats in the Senate, and I guess in the House as well, are now suggesting that they would allow FISA, they would withhold their votes on FISA's reauthorization, which expires next week. The statute will expire, as you know. They withhold their votes because of an interim appointment that is the president's choice to do. That is absolutely outrageous. Every one of you should be following them around with microphones and challenging them on that, because FISA Section 702 is responsible for approximately two-thirds of the President of the United States' daily national security briefing comes from the collection of intelligence through this statute. We enacted it in Congress after 9/11. The reason we haven't had another 9/11 on our shores is because we have this critically important national security tool. It is the most important intelligence tool that we have. The idea that they would try to play politics right now because they don't like the president's choice of
That is
appointment
crazy.
is absolutely stunning to me. But it shows to you one more time, as we say here weekly, this is not your father's Democrat Party. These are not reasonable leaders over here, okay? They will use pain for the American people for political purposes, and this is the latest example of it. I
Backed
think
by
it's
the
absolutely
Democrats.
outrageous.
He had ties to the World
President Trump
World Trade Center
last
bombing.
week, when talking about Iran, said that he doesn't care about the midterms, and he does have these numerous building projects around D.C. He's very focused on foreign policy. While voters are concerned about cost of living issues, above all, do you feel like the
Brander
president
Johnson.
is focused enough on the midterms?
Absolutely. I spent 3 hours with the president in the Oval Office on Monday. The vice president was there, Secretary of State was there, JD and Marco and I and the president. We talked about domestic policy almost the entire time. There's a lot going on in the world, but the president has his hands at the wheel.
7 minutes left. The Knicks and Spurs are tied up still, 86-86. 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, guys.
He made the comment.
Game
about
one
the midterms.
of the NBA Finals.
Obviously, you all saw, I'm sure you all saw the context. That has not been fully reported. They were asking him about Iran and negotiations for peace in that situation. And they asked him if the midterms is the controlling factor of that. He said it's not. It should not be. He's the commander-in-chief. He's trying to prevent the largest sponsor of state terrorism from having a nuclear weapon that would take out Israel and potentially us. It would go after our allies and friends and Americans. Remember, this country in Iran declared war on us 47 years ago.
Okay. Enough of that. Got 6 minutes left in our poll of the day. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, send the people into the algorithm for the poll of the day. 127 votes in. Gavin Newsom still gumming away with it. 57% of the vote tonight, guys. Back to Daddy Trump one last time.
I've been in the office a couple of times. The mayor of New York, I think he's a very nice person, and I don't know, he's a smart guy. I don't understand why he thinks it's okay for all these companies that pay hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes a year to leave. Because you're not going to have any tax base, and you're going to end up in hunger and squalor and death and destruction. I would be better than him if I wanted to go that route. Ladies and gentlemen, you no longer pay rent. You no longer have to pay interest on your mortgage. In fact, I'll end your mortgage. I'm going to cut everything. You're no longer going to have to pay for food. I'm going to give you a grocery store. I'm going to give you free food. You're no longer going to have, you're going to have the greatest life ever. Follow me, you're going to have the greatest life. And you know what? For a couple of years, that's such a powerful, I would be the best ever at giving it. Nobody would ever be. I had to sell free enterprise.
Gavin Newsom will never be president.
To sell, but that's what's made our country great. And that's why it's great again now. If I didn't get elected, we wouldn't have a country. We really
Alex
wouldn't
looks
have
like a
country.
fat
This
Simpsons
country would be
character.
finished.
Appreciate
But I see
that.
what's happening in Los Angeles. I see what's happening in New York.
Feels accurate.
Look at Chicago. You have a stupid governor, a dumb governor, a really dumb guy. I know him well. He's a failure in his family, Pritzker. I know the family. I was partners in a deal with them. I made a lot of money. They made money. We made a good partnership. But he was like an outcast in the family. He was a slob. And
if his lips
the
are moving, he
mayor's
is
a
lying.
low IQ person. I mean, he's a stupid person. Chicago has a case, you have a real chance to become great again. There's a case, great again.
Trump
if
is trash.
we were allowed to do what we did in Washington or Memphis, I was with the governor of Tennessee yesterday, and he said, I want to come in. He came in to thank me. I said, for what? He said, what you did for Memphis. Memphis, the crime is down about 72%, and it's going, he said it's like a different city. Washington is even more so. We started a little bit earlier. Washington, you walk down the streets and people feel safe here again. It's a safe city.
I'm a native NYer, and Mandani has been very
by the
good.
way,
Best mayor since Kosh.
In Louisiana, what I've done there is unbelievable. Because the governor, Jeff Landry, called. He said, you got to help me with New Orleans. We have a tremendous crime problem. And I sent in our really talented people, including National Guardsmen, and they did it unbelievable. They had the safest, they said they had the safest, we just ended about 3 weeks ago. They had the safest Mardi Gras they've ever had. I could do that in Chicago, but you have to have the support of a governor. You can't have a slob that says, we don't want it. People get murdered, and he says it's
What
fine.
is safer?
They lost 5 or 6
You
people
should really
last
listen
week,
to
and
what
they
he
said,
is saying.
It's fine. You're not going to lose 5 or 6 people.
I've heard it
And
7 times
I would
last
make
week.
Chicago so good and so safe. It's got potential. The longer it goes, the harder it is to fix. And San Francisco, we could do such a good job. My friend said, please let the mayor, he's a liberal guy, nice guy. I talked to him. He wants to make San Francisco good, and he's trying very hard. I said, look, I can do it much faster than you. Please let me have a time. I spoke to the mayor, and some very important people asked me to give him a chance because I'd like to see if he could do it. And he's doing okay, but I could do it much faster, much better. And we can remove, don't forget, 2% of your people create 90% of your crime. That's a great number because 2% of the people you can take care of. If it was 90% of the people, that's no good. But 2% in Washington, right here in D.C., we removed close to 5,000 hard-line criminals. Many came in through the Biden open border. We removed them from Washington, D.C., and it's one of the reasons that we're so safe now. We have a great, beautiful place. Again, the fountains are almost all open. You're going to have the reflecting pool opened within hours. I mean, literally within hours. The water starts pouring in tonight. It's going to be beautiful. You haven't seen that since 1922. Think of that. 1922. It hasn't worked. Never worked. From the day they built it, it never worked. But you're going to see that. And people are all thanking me because Washington's beautiful again. The parks are open. We changed the grass. Grass has a life also. Like people, grass has a life. And that grass hasn't been changed
I support
in
President
70,
Trump
80 years.
100%.
It died many times over. We have beautiful grass, beautiful parks, beautiful everything. We don't have
Epstein
people living
files.
on it. And
But your ass is still in
Washington,
office,
D.C.
Mr. 34
In a
ex-conviction.
matter of 14 months, Washington, D.C. is like a different place. If people are coming here, you know, the restaurants were all going out of business, as you know, because you use the restaurants. And now the restaurants are hot. In fact, if anything, we don't have enough restaurant space. They're all reopening. It's become vibrant. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and I am honored that I've been able to do it to our nation's capital. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, there that is.
Thank you, press.
That's the end of it, guys. 1 hour in, solidify the vote. Boom, ending the poll now, and Gavin Newsom takes his 7th win on our poll. That leaves it again with J.D. Vance, 26 wins. Gavin Newsom, 7 wins. Marco Rubio, 2 wins. God bless our country. He's such a crook gross. MAGA Republican strong. All right, guys. Thank you all so much. 16,000 strong for joining us on this episode of No News is News. One last check-in on the NBA Finals Game 1. We're not going to know a victor tonight, but let's see what's going on here. 6 minutes and 34 seconds left, and the Knicks are up by 4. The Knicks are up by 6. Knicks versus Spurs in the NBA Finals. The Knicks come up by 6 points in the fourth quarter. I'm going to have to check the end of that out, and I will be live later tonight after the Knicks game with NBA 2K26, where I play as whoever wins tonight and try to recreate that final scenario as well as play some online games until I lose. So if you like watching me play some video games, check that out. Hit the subscribe button. If not, I will see you all tomorrow for more news or news and no news, because no news is news. No news is news. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.